Welcome to iFire Story. Catch gripping Reddit tales of family drama, cheating wives, and betrayal. Subscribe for shocking daily stories that'll keep you hooked. Following the announcement of my pregnancy, my sister-in-law's scheme to embarrass me at my husband's party took an unexpected turn, resulting in her arrest and a divorce. For the past 7 years, I, a 29-year-old woman, have been married to William. Aside from his connection with his sister, Megan, who seems to introduce negativity into our lives, I truly appreciate every aspect of our marriage. At first glance, I was completely taken with Megan. However, as time passed, my perspective shifted significantly. She exudes toxicity, skillfully twists situations to her advantage, and carries a heavy cloud of negativity. Understanding her nature, I have diligently put in the effort over the years to ensure I remain in her favor. In the past, my husband had a relationship with Syl's best friend when he was just 17. However, they eventually parted ways as he felt compelled to stay with her due to Syl's influence. His sister suggested that he and a friend of hers should be a couple when he turned 23 and found himself single, but he was not on board with that idea. She tearfully approached their parents, expressing her desire for him to marry someone she felt at ease with. Yet his parents barely paid attention to her during their intense conflict. During the time my husband and I were getting to know each other and developing our feelings, his parents were very supportive. Yet Syl consistently maintained a distant demeanor towards me. She consistently mentioned William's former partners for no clear reason whenever I was around, highlighting their successes and hinting at ways he might reconnect with them. This persisted for a while. William found this peculiar and would request that she refrain from mentioning his former partners. Others witnessed this as well. Then Syl would become furious and begin to ridicule me, asserting that I was envious and that William deserved someone better than me. Syl would intentionally invite one of William's former flames whenever his parents summoned us for dinner, claiming she had accidentally run into them that day and felt compelled to extend a polite invitation. She may not follow me, yet she seems to keep a close eye on my Instagram all the time. As I manage a public account, I've noticed that she tends to be the first to view my stories. If a man were to comment on my photograph, she would subsequently approach her brother to complain about how I was posting inappropriate images of myself. William and I would genuinely find amusement in her assertions. She convinced William to break up with me just as we were planning to move in together, claiming I had numerous flaws as a woman and that she could easily find someone much better for him. Given that I had always been kind to her, this remark truly hurt me. Unfortunately, Syl's behavior towards me worsened significantly once William and I became engaged. As William and I shared the news of our engagement, the applause erupted around us, yet I couldn't help but notice Megan's subdued demeanor. Suddenly, she jolted from her seat, catching everyone off guard, and exited our gathering. Later, she called William, her voice trembling with emotion as she expressed her frustration. She felt deeply hurt that she wasn't among the first to hear the news, believing her closeness to him warranted that privilege. Subsequently, she reached out to me with an almost menacing tone, instructing me on how to treat her brother, emphasizing that she had always been the sole female presence in his life. A chill ran down my spine as I read the peculiar message. I left her a message on scene, fully aware that it likely offended her even more, and she didn't even bother to respond. Each time Syl laid eyes on me, she began to increasingly overlook my presence. She remained engaged in every aspect of the wedding preparations, whether it was accompanying me to dress shopping or attending my bridal shower. Despite repeated interventions from both my future mother-in-law and fiancé, her discontent with the wedding escalated as she openly voiced her dissatisfaction with my choices. Her actions continued unabated. One day, Megan caught wind of my conversation regarding the centerpiece with my future mother-in-law. Immediately, she began to mock me, claiming that my choice lacked sophistication and expressing her desire for her brother to marry someone more suitable. That moment marked the turning point, and I found myself losing grip. I clearly expressed to her that she was no longer welcome at our wedding and raised my voice, conveying my frustration with her ongoing taunting and criticism. Megan stood there, stunned and breathless, as if my challenge had caught her completely off guard. Her anger flared, intensified by the fact that my mother-in-law was supporting me. Later, Megan reached out to William, lamenting about how I had embarrassed her and insisting that he should manage my behavior, since I would soon be his wife. William firmly asserted his backing of my decision, stating that she would not receive an invitation to the wedding unless she made amends. She reluctantly sent me a heartfelt apology. I noticed it, and yet again, chose to leave it unanswered. I was already exhausted from preparing for my wedding, and I had no interest in her drama. Ultimately, she attended our wedding because I hoped to avoid any criticism from her afterward. All attendees, including the guests, appeared to effortlessly embrace the pink hues and pastels selected for my wedding. However, Syl appeared as if she were dressed for a somber occasion, donning a black floor-length gown accompanied by a veil. To say the least, we were taken aback. Sile reached out to everyone, expressing her sorrow over the loss of her brother to another woman. My husband spoke to Sile regarding her unease with her wedding outfit during the reception, claiming her freedom to wear whatever she desired and accusing me of being overly controlling. She attempted to cast herself as the victim. When her relentless drama continued, my in-laws finally decided it was time for her to go. I felt a wave of humiliation wash over me. Since that day, I steer clear of her. I prohibited Sile from being anywhere near our child when I gave birth to my son Liam. She attempted to resist, but my husband's parents supported me. They understood my decision and were fully aware of my reasons for wanting Sile away from my baby. Sile experienced a heartbreaking miscarriage with her then-boyfriend Chris 2 years ago, and it left her utterly devastated. For all, that was truly a somber time. Considering our current situation as parents, William and I felt a sense of sympathy for her. We decided to adopt a more understanding approach after her miscarriage. She had a way of connecting with our son Liam, so we would gladly invite her to our home. Despite her actions towards me, she has been quite affectuolium with our son, which is truly surprising. At first glance, she seemed transformed, yet as time passed, she reverted to her old ways. She frequently expresses how challenging her life has been, lamenting that circumstances never seem to favor her, and attributes her distress to former friends or managers who have impacted her life negatively. Over time, I've come to realize that her thinking is always spot on. She consistently tries to garner sympathy by portraying herself as a victim and rarely admits to any shortcomings during conflicts. She decided to tie the knot this year and asked everyone to mark their calendars. Considering the apparent improvement in our relationship, William was taken aback to discover that we had not received an invitation. She started to elaborate on why she wouldn't allow me to attend, stating that my presence would disrupt her wedding when we inquired about it. I called her to inquire why she would believe such a thing, having never done anything to her. Megan started to explain how she had intentionally chosen an all-black outfit for our wedding, and now she was concerned that I might follow suit, which was why she wanted me to be off-site. I candidly expressed to my spouse my feelings regarding her manipulative behavior, feeling quite upset about it. Following a conversation with his parents, William resolved to inform Syl that they would not be attending the wedding and would not contribute financially to it. This brought Syl to tears, and she started to hold me responsible for igniting this catastrophe. Her husband remarked that she had no grounds to accuse me, given that she had openly acknowledged her own mistake. Megan, on the other hand, justified her actions by suggesting that I should simply move on, given that our wedding took place quite some time ago. Later, she reached out to me to express her regrets and seek forgiveness, as her father-in-law and mother-in-law were still not covering the expenses for her wedding. As much as I dislike admitting it, Megan possesses a certain charm and persuasive ability when she has her sights set on something. I chose to move on from the past and let go of any resentment towards her. Their union with Chris unfolded flawlessly. Everyone gathered and enjoyed themselves. Less than 6 months later, Megan showed up at our doorstep, complaining about her crumbling marriage. For several days, William and I welcomed her into our home, where she would spend countless hours expressing her frustrations about her husband. It seemed they were facing challenges in conceiving, and Megan was clearly placing all the blame on Chris. When I approached Megan, she firmly maintained that it was solely her husband's duty. She would immerse herself in our lives, striving to conjure up things that were absent, all while occasionally lamenting about her husband. For example, each morning before I go to work, I make it a point to stop by the gym. When I'm pressed for time, I sometimes snatch my work attire so I can complete my workout, take a shower, and switch into my professional outfit. Seal watched this unfold for a while and was bound to have numerous inquiries about it, such as why I was taking a bath or what prompted my trip to the gym. I didn't ponder it deeply and would share with her my preference for maintaining my weight and my aversion to arriving at the office all sweaty. She would nod, her lips glistening as she licked them. Mill shared with us during lunch the story of a friend of hers who was going through a divorce. She walked away from her friend's partner, taking half of his wealth after discovering his betrayal with her. CL interrupted her to inquire if my husband and I had signed a prenup prior to our marriage. We halted, captivated by her presence. We ceased our consumption. She looked at my husband with anticipation, as though my presence had gone unnoticed. My husband told her directly that he doesn't sugarcoat his words, as both of us earn a decent income and see no reason for a prenup. Seal scoffed and started to express that he could easily be caught off guard at any moment, noting that deception is rampant these days. Her remarks were hurtful, so I requested that she explain precisely what she intended. Seal then pointed out that I was clearly on my way to meet someone, given that I always had a change of clothes with me. As William's sister, she felt it was her duty to give her brother a heads up. I found these remarks to be quite surprising. Stephen and Patricia promptly arrived to rescue her from the ongoing fabrication and to counsel her against meddling in the affairs of others. Without skipping a beat, Ciel maintained her focus on how she was merely trying to support her brother and playfully questioned whether our son Liam was truly William's son, given that he didn't quite resemble him. I could see the fury painted across my husband's face, a vivid shade of crimson. Throughout my life, I had never witnessed him in such a state of fury. Meeting Megan's gaze directly, he told her that she was not yet a mother, asserting that she did not merit the title and that her child would find greater peace in paradise than with someone like her. Megan's lips parted in astonished disbelief. Patricia. And Stephen observed quietly as my husband departed, leaving Megan lamenting about her being a disgraceful individual attempting to sabotage everything, as her life seemed devoid of value. He told her she was just a failure, spending her days idly while her husband toiled endlessly. He repeatedly insisted that, given her obvious issues, she ought to concentrate on her own marriage, rather than casting blame on me and inquiring about prenups. Overcome with emotion, Megan started to sob uncontrollably. Seeking solace, she glanced at Chris, who sat beside her, yet he remained silent. My husband has never experienced this type of mental breakdown. She finally rose from her seat and hurried into the restroom. My husband was fuming. I gently caressed his hand as Patricia came in to help soothe him. Recognizing the extent of her irritation, I nodded while he expressed his regrets for his sister's remarks about our son. After enduring so much from Megan throughout the years, I felt a sense of relief when my husband publicly defended me. He expressed regret to Chris, but completely overlooked Megan after he calmed down. After lunch that day, we found ourselves without any interaction with Megan. Her actions were affecting both my husband and me. We restricted her access to everything so she could reconnect with us. Following lunch, Patricia and Fael engaged in conversation with us and concluded that Megan had crossed a line this time. They observed the transformation of their typically reserved son, who had erupted in response to Megan's relentless prodding. It has been a year since our last conversation with her, and everything has been proceeding smoothly. 2 months ago, I uncovered what I had been anticipating. This outcome was rather surprising, considering our minimal effort. Welcoming another family member fills my spouse and me with gratitude and joy. We chose to share the news on my husband's birthday, as we had been anticipating the right moment to reveal it. Patricia and Stephen were hosting a wonderful celebration on their lawn to pay tribute to William. We invited our dear friends and family. SIL decided to reveal her identity after learning about this from others. Upon laying eyes on her, my husband and I were taken aback. As she approached William for a warm embrace, SIL expressed just how much she had longed for him and conveyed her regret over their previous conversation. My spouse took my hand and suggested to his sister that she should apologize to me for questioning my character. SIL gave a nod, met my gaze, and then offered an apology. She shared with me that she had been going to therapy for the past few months and realized how inappropriate her behavior towards me had been. Even though I found myself at odds with her every statement, I offered a nod, striving to maintain a courteous demeanor in the presence of the group, as this event was meant for my husband, Patricia. And Stephen reached out to us, assuring that if we felt uneasy, they would ask her to leave since they were unaware of her arrival. William, however, was adamant about avoiding a scene, so we chose to let this matter pass. It felt peculiar as SIL was joyfully mingling and sharing laughter with everyone at the celebration. She brought up the idea of seeing a therapist, which made me want to give her the benefit of the doubt, despite her seeming unusually optimistic, a stark contrast to her usual demeanor. William expressed his heartfelt feelings about being the luckiest man alive, grateful for another year shared with someone like me as we prepared to cut the cake. His remarks filled me with joy. Reflecting on our journey since those early days of dating, I find it heartwarming to realize that my husband and I remain deeply in love. William and I decided it was time to share some wonderful news with everyone. With broad smiles, we announced our news, and there was a moment of silence as everyone absorbed it before erupting in joyful cheers. My mother hurried over to embrace me, tears streaming down her face. As Stephen bid farewell to William and me, tears flowed freely down his cheeks. There was a palpable excitement among everyone as they eagerly inquired about our choice of baby names, their delight evident in their expressions. S-I-L was the conclusion. She appeared utterly bewildered. Her demeanor shifted, and she turned away from us, looking irritated. I figured she might just be taking her time to process everything. While I had some reservations, fearing she might spoil yet another gathering for us, my attention was diverted by others coming over to converse. I rose to help my in-laws with lunch, but Mark and my parents insisted I remain seated, urging me not to move at this stage. SIL came over with a radiant smile while I was patiently awaiting my husband to deliver my meal. With enthusiasm, she expressed her desire to treat me to dinner, thrilled about my pregnancy, and presented me with a dish. As she handed me the plate, she remarked on her desire to make amends for all the times she had been unkind to me before. I acknowledged and graciously consented. She then pivoted to leave. I was prepared to begin my task when I unexpectedly discovered that she had added shrimp to my plate. I was taken aback that SIL even brought me this, considering my strong allergy to shrimp. With a sigh of disappointment, I shook my head and stood up to prepare my own lunch. At that moment, Chris came over to extend her best wishes for my pregnancy. Following a brief exchange, he inquired about my lack of appetite. Chris comforted me, urging me not to fret, and gently took the dish from my hands after I mentioned that SIL had likely served me shrimp by mistake. Because he relished shrimp, he mentioned that he could indulge in this dish. I might treat myself to a new plate. I acknowledged with a nod, flashed a grin, and then shifted my gaze away. Chris started to heave and retch over this dish just 5 minutes later, not even 5. With a sense of unease, all eyes turned away from their meals as he struggled to rise from his chair. Worried, William and Megan rushed to his side. Chris pointed to his plate, then to his throat. Our eyes widened in astonishment as we recognized that what he had consumed clearly indicated something was amiss with him. Chris collapsed, prompting a collective gasp of astonishment and concern from the crowd. Megan rushed to inspect his dish, and her eyes widened in disbelief. She fixed her gaze on me and asked if I had given my plate to her husband. I gave a slight nod. Amid the chaos, a call for an ambulance pierced through, and he was swiftly transported to the hospital. Amidst it all, Megan was weeping incessantly, her gaze fixed on me with a fierce intensity. We were informed later that Chris had been poisoned. Realizing that the plate was originally mine, I almost fainted upon hearing this. Chris might have poisoned my baby and me. This is not yet known to William, Patricia, FEL, or my parents. As the mystery of the food that led to his sudden fainting remained unsolved, Authorities were called in to gather evidence from the scene. As I type this, Chris remains in recovery at the hospital. Megan spent the night with him. Family members are reaching out to inquire about Chris's situation and the identity of the person who may have harmed him, leaving my husband and me to handle the influx of calls. The recent events have left Patricia and FEL deeply unsettled. They are staying over at our place, too frightened to go back home. No one can quite grasp the sudden turn of events that disrupted the otherwise pleasant atmosphere. Inform everyone that the plate was originally mine, and the way Megan came and presented it to me fills me with dread. If this develops into an investigation, I will need to be honest with the authorities. While my primary concern now revolves around the potential actions of my sister-in-law, I can't shake off the feeling of unease regarding the events that have unfolded. I prefer to keep my distance from her, and I certainly can't allow my kids to be near her, as she clearly lacks any boundaries when it comes to her harmful intentions towards me. I regret giving my meal to Chris, as it might affect my bill. Revision 1. Wow. I really appreciate all the comments on this post in such a short time. I never anticipated that I would receive such a multitude of answers. I wrote this earlier, and my hands were trembling. Rest has eluded me. Regardless of what others may think, I can't shake the feeling that I bear some responsibility for the incident related to my bill. I ought to have just discarded the dish. I can't quite understand why I allowed him to take it from me. I find myself weeping over what lies ahead for him. My husband has been lingering nearby, aware that something isn't true. While he remains unaware of my knowledge regarding his sister, he thinks my concerns are merely about worry. I concur with the observations suggesting that I should engage in a more personal and gentle conversation with everyone. While I can't guarantee that everyone will take my word for it, Patricia and Thomas indeed have security cameras installed all around their home. Since this birthday celebration occurred in their backyard, I believe they can verify through their cameras that Megan handed me the plate. I will converse with everyone this evening and provide an update afterward. Revision 2. We then engaged in conversation, and I feel incredibly fortunate to have the most wonderful in-laws in existence, with Patricia and Thomas. Already staying with us, I took a moment during dinner with William and the others to share something important. I started with a deep breath, feeling the burden of the situation settle heavily upon me. As everyone came together, I recounted the happenings of the birthday party, highlighting how Syl had passed me a plate of prawns, which Chris had inadvertently eaten, leading to his unfortunate illness. Their astonishment and disbelief mirrored my own as I expressed my thoughts. Patricia and Thomas exchanged glances, their concern evident. William's expression shifted from doubt to fury. I began to articulate my worries regarding SIL's motives and previous efforts to cause me harm. Confronted with the potential consequences for both myself and our unborn child, I found myself reluctant to disclose this information. True to her practical nature, Patricia promptly suggested reviewing the security camera footage. In light of the seriousness of the situation, Thomas acknowledged with a nod of agreement. Despite feeling a surge of offense, William chose to remain silent, allowing himself time to absorb the shocking revelation. As they examined the security footage from their camera app, the reality became unmistakable. The video captures SIL unveiling the poison plate, followed by the events that led to Chris's distress. The burden of the data left no room for doubt. As the understanding deepened, Feelings surged intensely. Fully cognizant of his sister's malevolent schemes, William struggled to rein in his fury. Their daughter's actions appalled Patricia and Thomas, who were equally taken aback by the lengths she had gone to create turmoil. In a state of disbelief, we sought to understand the reasoning behind her unexpected behavior. Considering the gravity of the situation, my in-laws have decided to pass this information on to the authorities after this revelation. Chris is responsible for filing charges against SIL, so Thomas and my husband will be visiting to meet with him once he has recovered. Every time I think about how I allowed Chris to have my tainted dish, I feel an overwhelming urge to cry. I'm uncertain about Chris's response. I feel a deep sense of worry for him, which leaves me unable to eat properly or find rest. I will keep you informed about anything significant. Revision 3. Greetings, everyone. I'm here with an update at long last. It has been a month since my last update, and at this moment, I find myself navigating the many experiences of pregnancy. To begin with, she was taken into custody after witnessing the evidence. The recording was given to the police by my in-laws. Megan confessed to everything immediately and did not contest the allegations at all. She began to weep. Chris was just as taken aback as the rest of us when my husband confronted him about what had happened. Let him know that he will forever hold a place in our family, no matter the choices he makes. My husband suggested that he take legal action against his sister, as her actions were truly despicable. After Chris's recovery, he decided to pursue legal action and simultaneously sought a divorce. With a heart full of emotion and a plea for forgiveness, Megan reached out to Mill and Stephen. Interestingly, Megan finds herself expecting a child. She attempted to sway them by insisting that they should act for the sake of their granddaughter, pleading with them to come to her aid. Phil firmly urged her, however, that it was time for her to take responsibility for her actions and that the indulgence had to come to an end. While Mill feels a deep sorrow regarding her daughter's situation, she understands that her actions cannot be easily absolved. The authorities uncovered evidence that she had interfered with the meal, intended to harm me, but it ultimately backfired, causing injury to her husband. She faces multiple charges, including endangering life, causing harm, and interfering with food, which undermines integrity. Claiming that this was entirely my fault, Megan had been begging Chris not to press charges against her. Fortunately, Chris is determined to exact her revenge. The commencement of her court hearing is imminent. I have my doubts about her ability to escape this time. My son and I are managing well. Thank you to everyone who has been asking in the meantime. He has no idea what his aunt has done. William and I have talked about it, and we plan to sit down with our son to share the truth with him so he can understand and steer clear of these situations. Engaging in a tough yet crucial dialogue with a young child will undoubtedly be demanding, but it is necessary. Following my doctor's advice, I have regular ultrasounds for my pregnancy every 2 weeks. We want the child to be a delightful surprise, so we have decided not to discover her gender. In light of what has transpired with Megan, my parents have taken on a more protective stance towards me. They are encouraging me to seek treatment because they are worried that this might affect my mental health during the pregnancy. I share their sentiment because, despite my usual demeanor, I harbor a profound fear of what Megan did to my meals, leading me to steer clear of any outside food or anything I haven't prepared myself. I trust that my husband will assist me in conquering this irrational fear, as he is aware of it and consistently offers his support. Revision 4. I checked last about 8 months back. Megan finds herself in captivity at this moment. She was found guilty of the allegations. Although I never attended her court hearings, my in-laws would sometimes share how Megan openly confessed to the court about her long-standing jealousy towards me. She had always envisioned one of her closest friends tying the knot with my husband. So, when he began dating me, she constantly tried to undermine me, as she never wanted anyone outside her circle to marry her brother. She felt a surge of jealousy when we announced our pregnancy at my husband's birthday party, as she'd planned to share her own news as well. She was eager to share her joyous news, especially after experiencing a miscarriage, yet she felt that we had taken away her moment to truly shine. In a fit of fury, fueled by her pregnancy hormones, she decided to mix a touch of rat poison into my dinner. She expressed a desire for me to end up in the hospital, yet she insisted that she never intended to cause any physical harm to the baby or myself. She argued that she warranted a lesser penalty, claiming she never anticipated that I would offer her husband my plate, and that I had effectively poisoned her spouse. Certainly, the judge responded to her requests. She has been incarcerated and will be absent from our lives for a significant period. Chris is finally liberated now that she has successfully ended her marriage with him. Throughout the months, we have welcomed him into our family events whenever possible. He assured me that it was never my fault during our conversation, and I sincerely expressed my regrets for passing my plate to him. Upon realizing that I had been replaying the scenario in my mind repeatedly, longing for a chance to alter the past so that he would never have faced such a fate, tears began to flow. It brings me joy to see that Chris is thriving at the moment. As for William and me, our family has welcomed a baby daughter. The light our daughter brings has illumined our lives, even as the echoes of the past linger in the background. Liam finds immense joy in being a big brother, showering his little sister with love and care. Witnessing the bond our children share deepens our gratitude for life's moments. Our parents and in-laws have consistently supported us, offering their guidance as we navigate this new chapter in our lives. Thanks for watching iFire Story. If you love this gripping tale, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell for more shocking Reddit stories about family drama, infidelity, and betrayal. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and we'll see you in the next story. Stay hooked.